I thought today would be a good day to bring on Ben Axelrod. Awful announcing. Check him out. Does a great job. Ben, thanks for coming on this Friday afternoon. How's things going for you?
Things are going great. I appreciate you having me on.
You bet it, brother. All right, let's go to the NBA first, and then we'll kind of work our way forward. I have had a couple of NBA hoops guys on the last couple of days, and we all kind of came to the same conclusion. For some reason, for some crazy reason, Indiana still not getting enough respect, and we all said this thing is going to go at least 6. Now I got a feeling it might go 7. Your thoughts on last night and how Hallelujah Halliburton did it again?
Yeah, it's I can't remember an NBA playoffs quite like this one. I think maybe the closest would probably be when Detroit won it all in 2004, and all the focus was on the Lakers and Shaq and Kobe, and they had Karl Malone and Gary Payton. But there's something about this Pacers team that whatever it is that they are good at, whether it's the 3-point shooting, the pace, or just like Halliburton's clutchness, that doesn't translate to the advanced analytics. And so I think when you look at this series, I think the Thunder entered it as like a -700 favorite.
Yes.
And just like everybody's looking at the Thunder as this historic team, which on paper they are, and nobody's giving Indiana a chance. But you just look at what Indiana did to the Bucks, what they did to the Cavs, what they did to the Knicks, and there's just something about whatever they do, it doesn't translate. You can't, I guess, quantify like this ability to just never be out of a game, regardless of how much you're down or how little time's left. And I mean, I figured, there might be a game like this at some point in the series where they would make a run and maybe they'd come up short, but to do it in game one, to do it on the road in Oklahoma City, where that Thunder team has been incredible, I think you're right. I think it just totally changes the entire tone of this series. I think it totally shifts the way we're going to look at this series. And look, I mean, I think all expectations are that the Thunder will come out and take care of business in game 2, and then we'll get this series going again back in Indianapolis. But I don't know. I saw the line. I think it was Thunder by 11 points. I have a tough time favoring anybody by 11 points against this Pacers team, the way you can never count them out of a game.
Right. I mean, I'm sitting there. I was telling the audience when I opened the show today, I had the game on, and it was the fourth quarter. And most of the night, it seemed to me, I may have missed a couple of possessions, but the game was hanging between 9 and 12, 9 and 14. Mm-hmm. And I thought, gosh, I just can't turn the channel. I just can't. And then I looked down at my phone a little bit, messing around on X and Instagram. And I looked up, boom, it's a 4-point game. All right, now I'm locked in. And I'm going, this game's over. Indiana's going to win this game. And they did. Were you surprised? I mentioned this as well. I think the last 2 minutes and 25 seconds, maybe the last 2:30, except for that replay review when the ball went out of bounds, nobody called a timeout, Ben. I was shocked.
Yeah, and that seemed, at least from Indiana's perspective, that seemed to be the plan. That seemed like the way they wanted to play it. They wanted to get a stop on that final defensive possession and just make sure that they could get the ball into Halliburton's hands and kind of create that chaos. So, yeah, and then, the Thunder are so talented. They have so many options, and obviously it starts with SGA. So I think you could understand the way that they would kind of want to leave their guys out there and let it play out and just hope that their talent would win out and hold on to that lead. But yeah, it was definitely you're used to these final 2 minutes in NBA playoff games, especially, that feel like they take 2 hours. And, that was, like you said, other than the review, that was a pretty quick last few minutes there.
It was, man. It was refreshing. It was fun. And I think if they were able to pick up some like on the fence basketball fans that normally wouldn't be there, I think they may have kept them, because the way that game ended last night, it was just so fantastic. So again, Sunday, most are probably saying, okay, well, then the Thunder's going to come out and roll them. I'm not necessarily going to go down that path. What does Oklahoma City need to do? What do you need to do to beat Indiana?
Cut their heads off. Like,
right.
I don't like they are Michael Myers. Like they are. I don't. My brother texted me at halftime. He's a big basketball fan. And we were texting about the game, and I think at that point the Pacers were down by 10 or 11, and he said they're still in this. And I said, yeah, they have them right where they want them.
Right.
Like, this is the Pacers don't feel alive unless they're down by double digits, and so I mean it's really remarkable what they've done. I mean, that comeback against the Knicks, and that was about as incredible of a comeback as I've seen, with probably a close second being the comeback they had against the Cavs in Cleveland. And so to do that then again in the NBA Finals, I know the circumstances of this one were a little different, and it was kind of them more slowly chipping away. But to just have 4 consecutive series where you have a comeback of that nature with a game-winning shot by your star player, I mean, it is totally unprecedented, and that is between Neesmith and Nembhard and Siakam, and none of these guys are all NBA caliber of players. I know Siakam's made a couple of second or third teams, but such a complete team, such a refresh, and I think this is really, when you look at the CBA, and I know we've talked about that a lot with the Cavs, I think this is what the NBA is looking for. I think they like these teams that have, one solidified star player and then a handful of high quality role players around them. And that's exactly how this Pacers team has been built.
No doubt about it. Ben Axelrod is our guest, senior editor at Awful Announcing. Check him out on X, at Ben Axelrod, on X. All right, let's move off from the... All right, I got to throw this in here just real quick. Last night I found myself, and especially after the game, I was going through a lot of the social media sites, and they were showing watch parties and fan parties from the bars in Indianapolis and Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and I could only just sit there and think, this should be us. and all the fun we had with the NBA Finals with the Cavs for that 4-year run, I missed it so much last night. I wanted to punch my head through a wall. I mean, I was like, boy, we had it good, didn't we, for a little while?
Yeah, that's that was my stance every year LeBron James was here, whether it was the first 7 years or the last 4 between the 2 stints, was just savor this, because we've seen it. You go to the Cavs team facility, they have a ton of banners up in that facility, and I think all but one of them, now there's a couple more, but prior to this year, all but one of them were from when LeBron James was on the team. And that's not to say the Cavs can't be successful without LeBron James, but I think it just goes to show how hard it is to win in the NBA, how hard it is traditionally been to win in a smaller market like Cleveland or Indiana. And that's to me, I know it was tough though, those last 4 years, with the exception of 2016, feeling like you never had much of a chance against that Warriors team, especially once they added Kevin Durant. But to just be in the NBA Finals, to be playing basketball in June, not to have kind of like a loser's mentality about it, but it is an accomplishment. It is something to be proud of, and it's really kind of a unique experience. And hopefully the Cavs can get back there one day, and we can be talking about June basketball again in Northeast Ohio.
I hope so, man. We were spoiled, no doubt about that. All right, to the Guardians. We've got holes in our bats again, Ben. We're 33 and 28. Didn't score a run last night. Coming home to play a pretty good Astros team this weekend. Kenzie Noel down to Columbus. Ben Lively's going to be out 18 months with Tommy John surgery. Shane Bieber had a setback. What's your take on the Guards as we sit here on this Friday afternoon moving forward?
Yeah, it feels like one of those seasons where they just can't get cohesive when it comes to the pitching and the hitting. It feels like once the pitching gets going, then the hitting, like you said, kind of gets holes in their bats. And there's obviously still tinkering with that. They were counting on Kenzie Noel to be a big part of this lineup, and now he's back in Columbus. And outside of Jose, they just really haven't found much consistency in that lineup. And so all that said, they are, I think, 6.5 games back against of the Tigers right now. The Tigers just split a series with the lowly White Sox, so it's not like this Tigers team is infallible. We saw the Guardians handle business in Detroit a couple of weekends ago here now. So I mean, I think the Guards are still well positioned, especially in an expanded playoff, but they've got to take care of business on their end, and they're especially going to have to take care of business like they did when they get those chances against the rest of the AL Central.
Ben Axelrod is our guest. Check him out at Ben Axelrod on X. Awful Announcing, senior editor for at Awful Announcing. A lot of folks are ready to give up on Gabriel Arias. I am not. I still think there's something in there. I don't know how they figure out a way to get him to do it. Where are you sitting with Gabby, and how much longer of a leash maybe with him?
Yeah, he's really kind of an interesting guy because he obviously came over as one of the bigger names in the Mike Clevenger trade back in 2020, I believe it was, and just never really clicked. But he's always, he's always found himself, it seems like, as kind of an integral part of this lineup, especially once they traded Andres Jimenez this past offseason. You just knew he was going to get a chance. And so it's become this thing where if you're a Guardians fan or Guardians media member or just a Guardians, I guess, observer, like, you have to have a stance on him. Either you're pro Arias or anti Arias. I'm like you. I'm pro Arias. I just think there's always a place on a 25-man roster for a guy who can play several positions, has some pop in his bat. He'll make some boneheaded mistakes on the base paths. He'll definitely go some stretches where it doesn't seem like you're getting much out of him at the plate. But I just always think that, maybe it's not ideal that he's a part of your everyday nine, like he's been forced into for a lot of this season. But I just think there's always a place on a roster for him. So I totally get why the Guardians have given him just, it seems like, every chance possible to work out, because when he is going, it changes everything this team, I think, is kind of capable of.
All right, so the Guards and Astros this weekend up at Progressive Field, 3-game set, and boy, you got to hope the Tigers go on a little slide here, Ben, but I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. Let's go down the street a little bit and check in on our Cleveland Browns, and boy, it sure seems like the lines have been drawn in the sand between the organization, the city, Cuyahoga County, the lakefront people. What's the latest up there? All I'm hearing is a lot of bickering and a lot of he said, she said, I told you so. What's the latest?
Yeah, it's kind of at that point where there's so much mudslinging that it's hard to see any of this clearly, because it just seems like, just like you said, the lines are drawn in the sand. Everybody has their stance. Everybody has their take. It seemed like, we had maybe reached a resolution a couple of weeks ago when Mayor Bibb gave some comments. I believe it was to Fox 8 in Cleveland, kind of indicating that he was, the way they were perceived or portrayed in the media was that he was ready to move on. And then he came out and clarified that's not what he was saying. He was just saying the city does have other priorities, and they don't want to, whatever deal they reach with the Browns, whether it's them leaving or them staying, they don't want it to compromise those other priorities. You had the Cleveland Greater Partnership come out and side with the Browns, but there's also some, I believe, ties there that they have to the Haslams and the Browns organization. So you never know, what that actually meant. And so, at this point, I think we're kind of where we've always been, is just they are going to move to Brook Park. That is, it's not official, but it's effectively set in stone. And it's just a matter of what this exit from Cleveland looks like, and what sort of agreement they can reach in terms of what I would imagine would be a financial settlement and some kind of guarantees regarding lakefront development once they do leave. So I think it's just a waiting game. Obviously, there's the state budget aspect of all of this too, but I think the end result has always been the same. It's just a matter of how and when we get there.
Ben, you're a lot closer to the situation than I. If I get out a map, I look at the scale and I look, okay, city of Cleveland, here's the lakefront, here's Brook Park. It's not a terribly crazy long distance away from each other. There is the side of, if the Browns leave downtown, and it looks like they will, that it's going to crush the economy in that particular area, especially during the football season. Then there are people that will say, no, not really, because people are still going to be around the area maybe before they go to a Browns game, or stop there when they come back, where they're going to eat, to drink, whatever they're going to do. What do you think is what's the real number? What's the real word there of what would it be? How much would they lose, especially during the football season on those Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? How much would they lose if the Browns eventually would leave and go to Brook Park?
I mean, it would be a loss. I don't know how anybody could argue that it wouldn't be a loss just based on the game day traffic alone in terms of what you get from the local businesses and people coming downtown and spending money at the bars and restaurants. In terms of like this idea that it would devastate the region, I don't necessarily agree with that.
I don't either.
Any business that is built on 8 Sundays a year probably isn't a sustainable business in the first place. I mean, you go downtown, it's not like there's a bunch of bars and restaurants right next to the stadium. I mean, most of them are on West 6th Street,
right,
or closer to the Gateway, or down towards, these are not businesses that are solely dependent on Cleveland Browns football. Now, having said that, like, it would be a hit. I imagine that those are some of the higher, more profitable days for those businesses. I do think you're still going to get hotel business, because I think people coming into town are probably going to rather stay downtown and be able to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and actually experience the city. But I also think you're going to get a hit there, because there is going to be a tourism aspect to whatever it looks like in Brook Park and in this, Jimmy Haslam land that they're going to build. So